Many fans here in this shit.
Hello and welcome back to the final round back nine coverage from Sieravuori Open, one of the last Euro Tour events of the season. My name is Elias, Luukkonen, and this is MDG media coverage from the FPO Final 9. And we had some interesting action on the front nine, though the tournament scores are looking more solidified than ever before, as Jenni Karppinen is having a big lead over second place, and Saara also having a 7-stroke lead over the third place. So likely not much happening as far as the positions in the tournament, but watching some good disc golf, that's always a good time to spend your time. And we're starting on a big dogleg left, very early dogleg. So you have that steep curve after a couple of the initial trees. You have to go around an early Mando at the very beginning, and the basket that we're flying to right now is on a bit of a downslope. So you do need some good speed control here. And that's kind of the angle you're trying to go for, a little bit more inside for Saara than she was probably looking for. The shot here really is that nice. Use some overstability on your disc and hopefully shape it towards the left pretty severely actually. Like even you saw Jenni did have that slight hyzer with an overstable disc and still wasn't able to shape it enough to the left. So let's see, Anni is going way more inside. Kind of even, somebody could call that too inside, but the result is just perfect there. So clearly knowing what she's doing. Anni is actually a local here, so has played a lot of rounds on this course. Probably more than anybody else on the card. From here you have to follow this kind of a old road looking thing in the middle of the fairway. Just trying to get down there. Basket is right next to the camera right now. So even from where Jenni is, she will have to shape something pretty straight with the right bend. As you see her trying to do, just pushing it too far left. And she doesn't really have a lot of danger behind her. You know, she's got 11 strokes with 9 holes to play. And that's really almost unreachable within a back nine. Unless, of course, that might be the craziest comeback I have ever seen in disc golf. But it's definitely not impossible. Though I'm sure Jenni and probably the other guys on the card are not really thinking about catching in the first place, but rather just trying to lock in second or third. As we saw, Anni was a little bit short there, and Jenni going with a rare forehand. Not something you see from her every day or even every tournament. It's a nice slope here. Can't really see it from the camera angle. And well, I mean, I haven't really been there live, but what I have understood is that this hole does have that bit of a slope, especially behind the basket. You can see the small grassy area just a couple of meters behind. If you go over that, you're gonna be dropping down quite a bit. And as I have been speaking about everything else, Mirabella putting together a great hole. I believe that to be the first birdie we have on our card today. So that's a good time to do it. And Mirabella still must be thinking about, well, definitely taking over that third place over Anni, as I'm sure both Mirabella and Anni are still trying to finish as strong as possible. But also, she does have the slimmest of chance to catch Saara, as we see Jenni missing a putt on the right side. That was kind of the miss we saw from her earlier in the tournament. I believe in rounds 1 and 2 she was missing a lot of putts towards the right. So while this tournament looks like a piece of cake for her, I think that's something that she will have to figure out for future tournaments. And as they're tapping in, moving on to the next hole. And I think this is a good point, as I mentioned on the front nine. You know, us at MDG are a little bit late with this tournament. There was a lot of big technical difficulties. Some of our equipment was broken, so the editing process was delayed a lot, and also some personal issues on our crew. And appreciate for you guys waiting for the coverage. And hopefully in the future, once MDG is developing, and MDG is still a very young company, we still have a long way to go. So we're trying to improve everything in the future, and I hope to see you guys here for it. But back to action, hole 11. We saw a great shot from Mirabella. This is uphill par 3 with that slight right bend at the end. It's really a pretty tricky shape with a backhand. If you have a great forehand, it suits the fairway super well, but with this backhand it's really difficult unless you have a great late turning disc. As we see here, kind of difficult to make it all the way up the hill with turning. Mirabella really showed us the way. Let's see if Jenni can follow. And as I mentioned, just difficult to hold that turn all the way up the hill. So she's gonna be bottom left, and it's not gonna be a very difficult approach. Even though this green is one of the more dangerous greens on the course. You can see on the right side of the basket there's a big slope, and even on the left side you do have a bit of a drop off. If you go behind or to the left of the basket, you're left with a difficult putt straight towards the danger of death. So that's not a surprising play from anybody on the court. Laying up on this hole is an easy choice. Though Mirabella here, she's so close that I don't think she's gonna lay up from here. Having that confidence from the last hole's birdie. Though that one did not look very confident at all. And oh no. Oh no, that is kind of the worst case scenario. Actually not. I thought that was rolling way further down, but she still has an inside the circle look for the par. Though this one now, after grip locking the last one a meter to the right, is a really difficult putt, but wow. That is really impressive. The first putt was really bad, but this one, after having such a bad misrelease on the first one, it is pretty impressive to make the second. I think I would personally probably hate to putt on this green, and looking at the roll away, I'm not particularly disappointed that I have missed this course. Just kidding, it's actually a great course from what I've heard from a lot of people. It's a little bit different, It's great in a different way than a lot of courses on tour. You have these shorter wooded holes, and as we saw in the front nine, not everything about the course is perfect. There are some wooded holes that, could take down a couple of trees. But these open holes, these are just so beautiful, and not something we see every day in Finland. For example, this hole 12, 140 meters, downhill par 3, coming out of the woods. It's a really unique hole. You have that... It's not a tight gap off the tee, you do have some room to select the angle of the disc already out of the hand. Most people are trying to hit that slight hyzer or flat angle. Hopefully try to glide it straight as far as possible and just barely fade before that backside OB. It's definitely a hole that offers a lot of danger, and we have seen so many above par numbers here. It's almost playing closer to a par 4. Or not even almost, it is playing closer to a par 4. As Mirabella, she didn't have the greatest drive hit early off the tee, but that is absolutely perfect from Saara. That's exactly what you're trying to do here. Just set yourself up for that par. As I mentioned a couple of times on the front, really the pars on this course, on this FPO layout, it's one of the more difficult FPO layouts. Really the pars are the winning score here. And we saw there Anni throwing a great drive. And let's see if Jenni can follow. Looks like she can. That is just the perfect line. Never in any danger of any OB. And she's gonna have just a standard, like, let's say 40 to 50 meter approach from there. Nothing too difficult for her. And you can just see, if you hit early on this one, it's playing so much like a par 4. You can't get to the basket. And even these perfect drives, you know, it is a pretty easy approach from here. But it's still definitely an approach. More of an approach than a putt for sure. So I could argue this hole, for example, being a par 4 more than a par 3. And Jenni actually having a pretty bad approach there. It's, you know, she had open 55 meters there, so I'm sure she wanted to get it much closer, kind of like Saara does here, with that nice overstable sidearm. And Anni even opening up the hyzer angle with the backhand. That is kind of flirting with the OB. I believe she did stay safe there, so still a putt for the birdie, but not ideal from where she was. Mirabella just pitching up for the bogey. And let's see if Jenni can cover up for that approach with a good putt here. Just inside the edge of the circle, and that's a good one. Perfectly done there, dropping it to the bottom left. And that was for a par, of course. I think I mentioned this putt from Anni being for a birdie, but it is actually for a par. You can see the hole, even inside of my head, it's classified more as a par 4. As it is not exactly realistic to see, you know, anybody reaching this hole off the tee. And that's a good putt. Good par. Tough to see. Tough to see as that's going to be a double bogey. Losing 2 strokes on everybody else on the card. If Mirabella was going for 3rd or even the 2nd place, that's really gonna set her back a lot, as she's already 2 strokes back of Anni at this point. Luckily there's still a lot of holes that can cause trouble. You know, hole 13, probably not the one to cause the most trouble. You know, you're not really gonna get a huge number here. You know, the gap is pretty big. You have those trees halfway down the fairway, which you kind of have to miss either on the left or the right side. It's really your decision. Important thing here is to keep your drive somewhat low, because there is that bit of a low ceiling halfway through the fairway. Just try to hit the main gap and get some forward progression. And looks like this is exactly doing that. Pretty much perfect shot there. It's a really difficult hole to reach off the tee. I don't think we haven't seen anybody in the circle best drives so far have been still in circle 2 or even far edge of circle 2. But that's another good one. Let's see if Jenni or Mirabella can get it even closer than that. Really nice looking angle here. Just needs to miss the tree, and it does. So she's gonna be a bit more left. So that's, you know, if she wants to go for the basket, there's gonna be a couple of obstructions. But really the par should be, she should be pretty much set for par. And even Mirabella here kicking some of the early trees still has a somewhat of a chance here. And still a chance. She's within putting distance there. We'll probably see just a couple of layups here from, I believe, on the outside edge of circle 2. Oh! Yeah, not the most incredible layup, but I believe still a very manageable putt there. Mirabella first though to get a good par save. Not quite. And really I feel like the misses are kind of adding up right now with the short miss on the last hole and this one from in the circle. At the same time, Anni making a good putt on both of them. You can really see the difference, and I'm sure Mirabella can feel the difference on the putting green right now. You know, I think even when looking at UDisc stats, it's pretty important to see the difference between the putting of different players. And putting is something you can't really, you're not going to win a lot of strokes, but you're definitely going to lose.
The J, it's kind of like a companion disc to the Rock, not quite as overstable. So it's more point and shoot than the Rock is, but it's still got really good torque resistance and it plays really well in the wind, and you can throw it sidearm.
Yeah, as I was saying, I think if you look at UDisc gained stats, it's always the best drivers that are gaining more strokes by driving than the best putters are gaining strokes by putting. But, you know, it's really important strokes either way. If you're worse than average putter, it's kind of useless losing of strokes. So yeah, hole 14 here, definitely more of a driver's than a putter's hole, if that's the sort of comparison we're making here. So hole 14, a far par 5. You have that slight downhill grade whole way from tee to green, and one of the most beautiful greens you're gonna see in the entire country, entire tour even. But yeah, off the tee you really just want to get to the fairway. You have that OB on the right side and also OB on the left, but it's such a wide fairway that I'm not expecting the OB to really come into play for any of our players, at least not on the first shot. Maybe on the second and especially on the third, the OB does kind of creep in. But off the tee you have so much space. Even this disc that was turned a little bit over by Anni. You know, the fairway is so wide, it's really no punishment. And all you gotta do here is, you know, kind of keep your angle and hopefully just get some good distance off the tee. And that's kind of what Jenni has done there. Let's see if Mirabella can do something similar. She is going with a bit more of a flip shot. So I guess she's trying to go for more distance. Just the height not quite being there. The line was really good. Let's see, this is Anni. She's trying to get a lot of distance after that less than ideal tee shot. And that's well done. There's still possibly a chance for a birdie, although she will have to throw a pretty full third shot in order to get to the green. And that was a nice one from Mirabella as well. Let's see what Saara does. As if, especially looking from the throw cam, you know, from this angle, you can see the discs are gliding a little bit more than usual, and that's really the slight downhill grade coming into play. You know, look at this disc. It's just trying to glide through the air and not really fade to the ground. That was a perfect shot. And it looks like Anni is not going for the basket, rather just trying to play a mid-range straight. Though that is a tough OB there, trying to play it safe and still going OB. I feel like that's, as a player, that's one of the most disappointing things to happen. At least personally, whenever I try to play it safe and go OB, it feels just horrible. And that was Saara. Nice shot there, within long putting distance. Mirabella not really getting the height. I'm interested to see whether... Yeah, Jenni has just a straight look. Not even having to go with the driver anymore. So that's the kind of ideal situation you want here. And actually coming off the stake. And in the circle. How crazy is that? Yeah, it's not every day you see that. Kind of reminds me of, I believe it was 2017 European Open when Simon Lizotte on the card, and he actually hit a stake and the stake blew off or flew off from the ground, and he ended up in bounds because of going through the entire stake. But that's a similar thing for Jenni, and nice approach from Anni, you know, after making a mistake like that, you know, going OB with a safe shot, it can really get out of hand pretty quickly, but that's well managed there. Let's see. Mirabella trying to go for it. And a respectable run there. Not quite to be though. And let's see if Jenni can capitalize on one of the better breaks I have seen this year. And not the case. I feel like this is the time in the tournament when real, passion for disc golf comes out. The positions are pretty much set, at least for Jenni and Saara, you know. They're likely not going to lose their positions anymore. They're not playing for the first or the second place. They're rather just you know, playing because they want to play. You have to finish the round, you know, not melt down too bad, but other than that you can really just let loose and try to have fun. Try to still be passionate about your score. And that's the kind of moment you see Jenni still, while winning with 10 strokes, she really wants to get that hot round. Luckily for her though, hole 15 is a good place to make your round a little bit hotter. At least if we consider hot with negative scores, which I think that's probably the best way to consider hot scores. Hole 15, it's short, slightly downhill hole. You're going over this bit of a ridge, and really the perfect shot is a dead straight shot with maybe the slightest left finish. You have to play it pretty soft. You don't want any sort of big hyzer angle. For example, this one is fading a little bit too far down the hill. So that just shows you it's pretty much a straight hole. And especially with that slick, bouldery rock under the basket, you might want to land something pretty straight and slow. Otherwise you're gonna slide way down the hill. And that's really well done. Jenni coming in with a lot of speed, but she was actually able to hit some of the moss on the green. So that's something I didn't consider. And Anni there also, actually, that was a bit of a miscall by me by saying that you have to land it soft. Looks like the moss is actually slowing the discs down pretty well. That's a little early left. Is that touchy run or a layup? I can't really tell. Looks like it was flashing the chains pretty well. So Anni here, and what a nice putt, making it for her first birdie of the round. That's well done. She's still on pace to actually beat her best round of the tournament. Anni, I believe, so far shooting +10 and +12, and right now +8 for this round. So great chance to improve on some of those. And Saara, she's not gonna move under par on this one. Though not a lot of pressure from the rest of the card as Mirabella's putting struggles continue a little bit. That is such a tough position to be in when the putter is just not coming out of your hand correct. I can tell you from experience, especially being on a high level lead card, that's not something you ever want to feel or even want to see happen to anybody else on the card. At that point, oh no. Let's just take a silent moment. Right, maybe that's enough. I was just drinking some water. But yeah, at that point, right now, Mirabella just really needs to remember it's all mental. She's not any worse of a putter than she was before, even if she feels that way, you know? It's all about just getting that thought out of your head, thinking that you're still just as good as you were before. It's just a couple of bad putts. And it's you know, you guys, if you ever have the time, you should sometime take a look at what's actually happening inside of your brain when you get that sort of like yips sort of thing. But yeah, moving on to hole 16. This is a pretty simple hole. Just hammer a glidey straight, overstable driver straight, and hopefully finish left. And you're gonna be within putting distance. Probably in circle 2. We see a lot of drives in circle 2, kind of like that one. I think that should be just inside circle 2. And Anni as well. This is a little bit wider. Probably will like a bit more skip to the left. That's not going to be the case though. That's still well within putting distance if she wants to take a bit of a jumper. Hopefully this one's staying in bounds, and it does. That's really the danger on this hole. You have that pond OB to the right, but I guess more dangerous being that OB on the left side, which Mirabella is almost finding. Couldn't quite tell there. Might have actually stayed safe. And Saara as well, just barely staying safe there. I feel like this is one of the holes that really rewards distance. You know, if we had a player on the card that was throwing, let's say, 10 to 15 meters further consistently, they would be picking this hole up almost every time. You know, it's a really natural shape, but for our field, it's really a test of more of a test of distance and velocity out of the hand than anything else. As we're gonna have probably just 4 pars here. Nothing changing on the leaderboard. And looks like our positions inside the card are solidifying even further. Mirabella might be in trouble of dropping out of the 4th place actually, with the couple of putting errors she's had. I would imagine it's very possible that somebody out of the 2nd card might be coming for her 4th position. And now on to what I believe to be the signature hole of the course, hole 17, the beach hole. And beach with a long E, just to be clear. because this is a beautiful hole. Nothing to hate about this 135 meters, a difficult par 3, kind of a par 3.5. At least that's what it has been playing like so far. You're just trying to throw something straight, get over that initial pond and then all the way towards the lake as far as you possibly can. And that's just a fine drive. Well done, good distance. Just about 35 meters left to go to the basket. And something we have seen over and over again on this hole is that the approaches are not really bouncing. So whether a player throws a spike hyzer approach, a flat putter approach, or whatever, you see these drives are bouncing off the stiffer part of the sand. But when you get all the way to the basket, your approach is pretty much going to stick wherever it lands. So we have seen 3 decent drives here. Saara is going to be a little bit obstructed behind those trees, but should be no problem from there with only about 50 meters left to go. And this one is gonna be interesting. So Mirabella is going to be behind that balcony, or what should I call it? Terrace. Let's call it a terrace. As we saw, Saara is actually going to be in danger of taking her first bogey of the back nine. She's had that all par streak, and that's exactly what I said. The discs are not really bouncing. A lot of people are leaving their approach a little bit short because of that. You know, they're expecting a little bit more bounce. And also just the fact that you have more room on the front side of the basket. On the back side, I believe the lake is somewhere on the edge of or inside the circle. And that's a nice one. I think Saara heard me when I said that she's in danger of taking that bogey, but that's not gonna be the case, as she already has 8 pars in a row on the back nine. That is pretty impressive, and especially considering that if you had all pars throughout the entire tournament, right now you would be winning the tournament by 12 strokes. So that's really winning play from Saara, and pretty impressive. I feel like it's just great putting from her, good strategy. She hasn't been going for anything too crazy, just trying to play for the par on a lot of the holes, play for the birdie when she can, but hopefully just try to secure that par on every one. And hey, we're already on hole 18. It's been a pretty quick back nine. It's actually a pretty fun round to watch, I feel. You know, we have this difficult hole 18. Not a very birdieable hole, it's a very difficult hole to birdie. I'm not sure if there actually was a single birdie in the tournament, because the hole is playing slightly uphill, and that 120 meters with the OB on the left and on the right, it's really difficult. Have to hold something slightly to the right, or just power it up like Jenni did. Great throw there, even with the left finish able to avoid that left side OB. Let's see, Anni is trying to go for more of the right side, but a little bit too much there. She has found the right side OB, and that is going to be guaranteed bogey or worse. Even the bogey from there not being exactly a piece of cake. And that was a good drive. Saara still has a strong opportunity to try to end this round with 9 pars in a row, which would be, I'm gonna say it, that would be one of the most impressive back nines I have seen on this year. I've done a lot of commentary, but considering the difficulty of the course, that would be super impressive on her part. You know, of course, we did have MPO field on the same course, shooting better scores, but I believe compared to the general level, for example, the rating of the player, I think shooting all pars would be just incredible there. But unfortunately, looks like Saara will have very limited chance to do that as she's far in circle 2. And Mirabella there. Nice approach. Still has a bit of a putt left to hopefully end this tough round on a bit of a positive note. And Jenni, wow, that's pretty unfortunate. Not that it's gonna matter a lot. Really the only thing that it matters for is, I guess, how she's gonna feel and possibly the rating. I don't know if a lot of people still care about the ratings. I do at least. I'm sure a lot of, well, of course, because I know a lot of tour players still do. It's a great way to determine how good you are, as that will be a bogey finish for Saara. Well played, congratulations on the second place with a really strong margin over third. Looks like it's going to be 6-7 strokes. I believe either 7 or 8 strokes above Anni. And Jenni here, not wanting to lay up for the ceremonial last putt, rather just making it from here, or trying to make it from here. And I'm sure she could be more disappointed as she's still gonna win, but definitely not fully satisfied. As Mirabella taps in, we'll have to see whether she finished 4th or somewhere, I guess somewhere further. Just really depends on how the second card played. But Mirabella, gotta respect the composure even with the putting errors. And Anni, same thing. Tough finish for her, but good third place finish as Jenni is the champion of Sieravuori 2023.
Sieravuori Challenge FPO champion Jenni Karppinen. Jenni.
Wow, that's a pretty cool trophy, I gotta give that. You know, they know how to do some things right here in Sieravuori. And that was a nice event to watch, you know. This was my first event coming back to commentary, and that was very relaxing, very nice, good action. As we see the final scores, Mirabella was able to stay in 4th place by 1 stroke. So, good fight until the end. Of course, Jenni with a big margin win, and Saara over 3rd place as well. Thank you guys for watching. There's still a couple more videos coming with our delayed schedule, as I mentioned earlier. My apologies, and the whole MDG crew's apologies for that. Hope to see you guys in the next one.